Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. In today's podcast, well, how are you, Brent?
I'm well, thanks.
Yeah.
Today's
podcast is with Tyler Prince, and he works right here across the hall from me at Mountain Ops headquarters.
About 15 feet from us right now. I can see him.
I can see him right now. And Tyler is graphic arts or marketing? What's
He's a graphic designer for Mountain Ops.
Graphic designer for Mountain Ops. Okay. He's in that media room, and they do all kinds of fancy...
The bullpen.
Yeah. Anyway, he is a total knife nerd.
Yes.
And loves sharpening knives, and he's sharpened my knife after every hunting trip, pretty much. I have a couple of knives from Benchmade that are made with like S90V steel and S30V. They're super hard steel that retains an edge for a really long time, but they say you need the patience of a saint in order to sharpen it, or the edge is very hard to sharpen. Well,
Brian does not have the patience of a saint.
No, and you can always mail your knife into like Benchmade, and they have a lifetime sharpening that they'll do for you.
But the turnover, sometimes you're in a hurry.
Yeah, it's like a pain in the butt. But so Tyler has this tool called the Wicked Edge, and you can go to wickededgeusa.com and check it out. And it's this tool he uses to sharpen knives. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I've never heard of it.
I've never seen it.
So I figured we'd have him on the podcast, and there's a little video where you can see it, where it's
essentially a vice grip that also locks in your
sharpening stones.
Yeah, so they hit the same angle every time, no matter what.
Yeah, so you figure out your angle, your blade angle. He can put a new edge on a knife that's just jacked up. It's in his precision, and he can get that thing so it has a mirror edge. It's so sharp. I mean, he sharpens my knives, and they are so ridiculously sharp. And then those knives, I can use, like my Osborne, and Ryan has the same knife, Lampers. That Osborne just holds an edge. And I can use that knife on multiple elk to skin, pop bone, the whole thing, and not have to sharpen it. It's unreal. And so you don't need a throwaway blade with that. It's kind of nice to have like a Taito or something, so you can just get into some cracks, and especially if you're caping or something like that. But I could certainly do it all with the Osborne. I also like the Altitude, and it hardly weighs anything, and it has a nice edge for skinning. But it doesn't. I've noticed the Altitude doesn't quite hold an edge like the Osborne. I have to talk to Tyler about that and kind of get his theory behind it. It still does a fabulous job, and it's a better knife angle for skinning the actual hide. But for cutting meat and cutting quarters and deboning, that Osborne's pretty legit. Ryan actually mostly used the Osborne on our deer hunt that we just returned from, even though he has the Altitude as well. So can't say enough about those two knives. But Wicked Edge, it's a cool product. You can look at the video of this podcast on our YouTube channel and see what it is that Tyler's doing. Brent's kind of put this video together. We had some shots of it in studio, and dude, Tyler's like, I'm not an expert, dude. I just do this for fun. I get a knife guy that does this, that knows all these things. I'm like, dude, you're across the hall, and you know more than me. You know more than most people. And I was looking at Ryan's sharpening job on his knives. They're sharp, but that edge is a little wonky. And Lampers does his own, and I think he takes a lot of steel off the knife too, because he's using like a belt, like a belt sharpener, with heavy grit and all of that. And I think that gets a little harder. You're not precision every time, where the Wicked Edge actually ensures you have that exact edge, and it looks like he's like, he can sharpen my knife in 10 to 15 minutes, and it's precision, and it didn't take off that much steel.
Well, that blade, it essentially just bends.
What blade?
Your knife blade, the sharpest part of your blade. The reason it goes quote dull is because it starts bending off to the side, left or right. And with that Wicked Edge, you can just kind of tap it back up into place.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's cool. He puts a little black marker line across the blade, so he knows he's hitting the, if there's still black marker on the edge. Then after he's ground it down, then he knows he's missing a spot and he can adjust things. And it's a super cool tool. We're not paid by anybody on this, by the way. Not by Benchmade, not by Wicked Edge.
We just knives.
Like the stuff. So I think you'll like this show if you're into knives, and every hunter generally is. It's cool. It's a really cool product, and so
if you got any questions,
hopefully it's useful to you.
Leave them, and we'll ask Tyler to answer them.
Yeah. So with that, don't forget that you get free shipping when you use the code GRITTY at Mountain Ops, and you can save 15% off on a pair of awesome sissy sticks at bigsissygear.com. All right. With that, enjoy the show. Stay gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. I got my brother here, the Gritty Broman, on another camera. So for those of you that are listening, you might want to watch because I'm here with Tyler Prince. And Tyler, you work here at Mountain Ops. Mm-hmm. How long have you been here?
A little over a year, yeah.
A little over a year, and you do
graphic design. Before
here,
I worked in the solar industry for about 5 years.
And like everyone at Mountain Ops, you like hunting.
That's true.
And hunting things and hunting tools.
Yep.
And you like knives.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you're on the podcast today, because you have quite the little hobby thing going here with sharpening knives. So, of course, there are some blade makers out there who may or may not have more knowledge than you do. But guess what?
For sure.
They don't work across the hall from me. So here we go. It's funny because right here I have this Benchmade Altitude knife. I love this little knife, and it's made with that S90V steel, and and then I have this Osborne Benchmade Osborne 940-1 knife, carbon handle or whatever they call it. Yep. I saw they have a green one right now.
Yeah,
Ooh,
the aluminum handle.
Yeah, I want that just because it's sick green color. Why do humans just want knives? I don't know. I think it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
It's because we've been scratching rocks and making them sharp for as long as you possibly could.
There's something about this that we instinctively are drawn to.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I picked up this knife, and I knew that it was some kind of crazy steel that holds an edge a long time, but I think they said you had to have the patience of a saint in order to sharpen it. When I read about it, it's very difficult to sharpen. And there's two schools of thought when it comes to knives in the backcountry and just knives in general in hunting. You have the soft blade, kind of the soft metal kind of knife that you can easily sharpen with just whatever you can find in the bush almost. Mm-hmm. But it goes dull really quick because it's a soft steel.
Yep.
And then you have the other school, like this right here from Benchmade, being this kind of steel that, once you sharpen it, it'll retain that edge for, to skin an entire elk, let's say.
Yep.
And sometimes multiple deer, whatever, and it'll hold that edge and not go dull. So you never have to sharpen it. But once you do, you need like high-tech tools almost to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't like to sharpen stuff, especially when I'm in the field. I just want it to be sharp all the time for a long time. Mm-hmm. And once the edge is gone, I'll bring it in and have somebody or pay someone, or I think Benchmade, you can just mail your stuff in to Benchmade and they have a lifetime.
Yeah, Life Sharp. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they'll just do it for you. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. What are your thoughts before we get it started on this, on knife blades and steel? You got way more knowledge on this subject than I do.
I would say I'm like of the same school of thought. I like a hard steel. I sharpen them between every outing. Like if I skinned out a deer with this knife earlier last week, but I'm going to sharpen it again just because I enjoy it. But yeah, for me, we have the privilege of having really advanced steels these days where you can keep an edge on it for a long time. And it's awesome. But you do have to just keep in mind it's a more brittle steel. And when you do have to sharpen it, you're probably going to need a diamond stone or something along those lines, or multiple grits just to get you back up to that nice bevel and, a nice edge. So,
yeah, like this Benchmade Altitude, I like it. It hangs around my neck, super lightweight. It's always right there. Mm-hmm. Friends joke that I'm going to stab myself in the throat with it someday, or I'm like, only an idiot would do that.
I have one, but it pretty much hangs around my belly button because my beard's so long. It gets caught.
But it does. It's got that thin blade. I feel like when I got it between a joint that I might break it. Mm-hmm. But this Osborne is a lot thicker. And I was telling you the other day, as much as I like this Altitude and it's great for skinning, my favorite knife is this Osborne.
Yeah.
What kind of blade is this? And what kind of blade is this?
That's a drop point. There's a name for this profile. It escapes my mind right now. There's quite a few profile names, and I don't remember them all. I'm not.
It's got that thick.
Yeah, but I wish I had studied up just a touch more. But yeah, I don't quite remember. It's probably like a modified drop point or something like that. But
man, I can really just put this in the skull. Or I can like put it right in the vertebrae on an elk and just pry, and I don't worry about it breaking.
Yeah.
And I do like that. And this one just seems to hold an edge a bit better than the Altitude.
Surprising, because that Altitude's got, it's known to have the, incredible steel. And Osborne, that's like...
Is it the type of bevel being different? Or
when I did sharpen that does have a very steep bevel, almost like a kitchen knife. Mm-hmm. So you've got less steel.
Talking about the Altitude.
Yeah, the Altitude. Less steel right out there at the edge. So you might... You might lose that edge a little bit quicker because it's such a steep bevel. But you've got that geometry working for you. So it's going to cut real nice, but maybe not quite as long.
Right. Okay. So, I didn't know you sharpened knives. I was getting ready to really send these into Benchmade, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but also nice, because you get a professional to sharpen it and then it'll hold that edge for a while. But here you are with this fancy contraption, and you told me earlier what it was. Now I can't remember.
Yeah, it's called the Wicked Edge. It's a cool company. I follow them on Instagram and a few places, but this is one of their early sharpeners. They have quite a few now that do, things a little bit better. But
if you're on YouTube, you can see the video of it as Brent's filming it, what it looks like. But it basically is a clamp that will hold the knife.
Yep.
So the blade is up.
Yep.
And then you have these, I don't know, arms or...
Yeah. So you got your vise in the middle. You can adjust the depth of your blade in that vise. So that's important just because at a certain point, this vise will hold it too deep and you can't reach your bevel. So, but that's pretty rare. And then you can adjust your bevel with these two arms. Those arms have ball joints, and you slide your stones, which I have, half dozen of each, onto the arms because they've got a little hole up the middle, and you just start low. So you start at like a 50 grit if it's real. If you got a chip blade. This one that I just was working on has a chip blade, so I'll start low to work all the metal off till I get to the same depth as that chip, and then you just work up to the grit. So 50, 80, 100, 200, and then you can get up into the thousands.
So you have a real coarse grit working all the way up to a really fine grit.
Same as like sandpaper. So yeah, you just find, what I usually do is I mark my bevel with like a Sharpie, and I'll just, I don't know if you can see here.
So you got that thing in the vise. When you mark the bevel, you write on it with a pen.
Yep.
With a Sharpie, and then as you sharpen it, any area that's missed will still be covered. Will still have the pen mark on it.
Yep. And then I know there's other ways to do it. Like I have like a little angle measurement, if you want to hit a certain angle, but I just am trying to maintain the bevel on this. So I know if I'm sharpening, I'm still seeing black. I'm not maintaining that bevel. I'm establishing a new one, which generally I try not to do on knives. So.
And why is that?
Mostly because this knife, like the guy didn't say, hey, there's a problem. And it creates a lot of work for me, like working through all that new metal. If I can just put back a fresh edge on that existing bevel, he's happy, I'm happy. I don't have to like file through tons of metal.
So if you create a new bevel, it's just a lot of work.
Yep.
And how often does that need to happen? I mean,
yeah, it doesn't need to happen hardly ever. So factory edges are usually really good. They're usually really close to like a perfect apex, so like right in the middle of the blade. Mm-hmm. I found very few blades that are like nice modern blades that are off enough that I felt like I needed to reprofile the blade. So I just try and match those bevels in each side, and then just work through my grits.
So what got you into using this tool, and how much does that tool cost?
I don't really know why I've been fascinated with sharpening knives. Like ever since I was a kid, my dad had like a little whetstone in his fishing tackle box, and we would go fishing and I would just like sharpen with it. Mm-hmm. So I got, when I got married, I got like 3 sharpening stones, and I would just work on my own knives. And I just discovered that like you can learn and learn on those, but like it's really hard to be repeatable. Like to establish a bevel and always hit that same bevel, no matter how steady your hand is. So you'll get done and you'll just find that
it's never as sharp as it could be.
Yeah, you'll have low spots, you'll have high spots. Certain types of knives are easier to sharpen than others. Low profile knives, like your altitude, it's harder to sharpen. So I was like, I read up on this system, and there's a few other systems that are awesome too. And I was like, this is the one. So I just saved up and I was like, I'm going to buy it. This one costs, with everything I've got, probably around $500. They get up, the Wicked Edge, like the nicest ones, get up to $1,000.
So it's made by Wicked Edge.
Wicked Edge, yep.
And how much are all the stones? Is that's included?
All the stones? Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was like, to earn some of it back. Yeah. I'm just going to sharpen people's stuff. And I really enjoy it. Like I really like maintaining things that I have. I just like knowing that when I need to, head out the door to go on a hunt, I have like a sharp knife that I can take apart an elk with. So.
Yeah. What do you think of today's Havalon blades and throwaway stuff?
They're cool. They definitely have their place. But it's just, for me, it's like, I would love to like give this to my son and like hand it down. That's really cool to me. Havalons are awesome, and I have nothing against them, but this, you can do things with this you can't do with the Havalon. And it just, if I can afford to have both in my pack, I definitely will. But I just like to have both.
Yeah.
But I can do anything I need with that. So I would leave a Havalon home and take that.
And when you say that, you're talking about another another knife.
Another little Benchmade, yeah.
It's a sweet little knife.
Yeah, I love that.
What is that knife?
Man.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's called the
for skinning, right? Like this it's got the little grip right here at the finger.
Yep. It's got a nice belly on it. It skins really well, and then it'll, it's sharp enough that I can take a quarter off with it and anything I need, but I can't remember the name of it.
That's neat. So, is it hard to like, once you have the tool, to figure out how to use it? Does it still take a lot of technical or artistic ability, or is it more just attention to detail?
With the Wicked Edge, that's no, it's a really shallow learning curve. It's not too bad. That's the cool thing about it is, as long as you pay attention and you're willing to just YouTube a couple things, you're going to get great, awesome edges with it every time. That's the cool part about it. It's like repeatable. If you want to get like mirror edges, which is a big reason why people buy these, is like you put like you can see yourself in your knife edge. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a little bit more learning, and a little bit more money. But for me, I just bought it because all knives for me are like tools. I'm not really like a hobbyist. I carry them to use.
Right.
But a lot of people buy these because they want to have like
crazy
$1,000 knives that have crazy edges on them. So,
$20,000 knife,
dude. I taught a guy when I was on my mission in Vegas, and he was a self-defense teacher, and he had over like 500 knives.
Yeah.
And he had a knife sharpening thing in his garage. Like it was bordering fetish rather than hobby. For sure. Yeah, he was scary. He'd stabbed a couple people. He showed us some videos.
It's its own little world. Like people are as into knives as other people are into guns. Like, there are knife guys out there for sure, and they'll probably hear some things I said on this podcast and be like, "What
an idiot!
How do you not know that?" And I'm like, "Well, sorry."
I tend to learn what I need to learn in order to do what I want to do, and then I quit learning.
Yes,
I got it. It's good enough. I'm moving on to the next thing to learn.
The key goes in the ignition, and I turn it, and the car works. It's like magic.
I mean, I do love knives. I just don't necessarily have enough money.
How many knives do you have?
I probably have like 20, but not a ton. None of them are very expensive. Like, probably my most expensive knife is probably this Benchmade right here. Right. This I think they're like $100.
Gotcha.
So,
it's not bad.
Yeah,
these are not cheap over here.
No,
your Osborne. Those things are pricey, but they're worth it. They're awesome.
This one doesn't weigh like anything, but I still put like a little Cedar Summit tether on this with the carabiner, Cedar Summit carabiner, because I've just lost too many.
Yeah.
And you spend $200-$300 on a knife, and I paid cash for both of these knives just to clear the air.
Is that a kite string that you have?
No, it's just like
little paracord.
Little paracord, yeah. And I just tied the knot, put it on there myself. And then I just clip it to my belt loop or something. Because I've just had them, when you use the little clip here on your pocket, it gets caught on a tree branch or something, and it comes out, and I've lost a bunch.
Yeah.
So I just started to do that extra step of just tethering it whenever I slip it in a pocket. I just clip it on just to make sure.
Don't want to lose something that expensive for sure.
Yeah, and it's not that big a deal to do that either. It just takes a little extra second, and I never lose my knife anymore. My cousin Ben has a bunch of stuff tethered to him. Like, he loses everything. His Garmin, his GPS, his knife, It's the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long does it take to sharpen like this Osborne?
Osborne's some with like a hard steel, like those two knives. It's going to take just like an extra 5 minutes just because it takes a little longer to get through it. But like 20 to 30 minutes per knife. Okay. So,
and then this tool, you say it's $500. It's a spendy tool.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to have someone sharpen a blade for you? If you were to pay a knife sharpener, like if someone were to pay
me, I usually sharpen knives for around $20.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it just depends on the type of knife, length, things like that, but usually around 20.
So you could really, if a guy is paying someone to sharpen their knives, you could pay for this pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially just having the convenience of it at home and being able to just get your stuff done, and ready to go again.
Yeah. And I do it mostly for fun. Like, I've probably earned my money back by now, but it's definitely not a good way to earn money. You're going to, but it's a fun thing. I do it, like you said, as a hobby. So
yeah. If a guy wants to get Tyler Prince to sharpen his knife, what does he do?
If you're local, you can find my ad on KSL. Besides that, you can probably find me on Instagram.
Yeah.
But, don't go out of your way.
Yeah.
Brian's trying to destroy this hobby of yours.
Yeah. You sure you don't want to buy 5 more of these? Hire some people to...
I could turn, I could probably do $1,000 in profit this year.
Yeah. How do other guys or other companies sharpen a blade? Do they have a tool like this, like Benchmade, or what do they use?
Benchmade, from what I've seen just online and, just knowledge I picked up, I think most factory people do a couple steps of slack belting. So they have like a semi-slack belt, just like a
leather belt that's, or is it like
it's a belt sander. It can be positioned a certain way so that they can just look straight down on the knife, and then it's semi-slack, so they'll get that bevel on both sides, and then just run it down the blade a couple times and a few different grits.
Is it as good as this method?
I would say no. They do a great job. You're going to get awesome edges from, Zero Tolerance, Benchmade, Kershaw, all the, the leading brands. It's going to be sharp, but I believe that this is much sharper when I'm done. So,
gotcha.
Our dad loves Kershaw knives. Dad's got this broken It's got like maybe an inch of knife left on it. He still has it.
It was right in our home backyard when we lived in Oregon.
Yeah.
You know? And they had these Kershaw knife sales that were like major liquidation sales. Mm-hmm. It's like Danner Boots did the same thing.
Yeah.
You go down there and buy a $100 pair
Nike
of boots for
outlet.
$20.
Not bad.
You know, so I remember as a kid going in and getting Kershaw knives, and we'd get them with like bones and like pumas carved on them and all kinds of like. I remember as a kid, like I wanted ones with like deer and elk or cougars or something, mountain lions on there. And man, we did buy a lot of knives back then. I don't know where they went, but
they're probably at your dad's house.
Oh, yeah, guarantee you. Dad has them rolled up in socks. They're oiled and they're stored and hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I carry. I carry just a little Kershaw that if I lose it, not a big deal, but I will get an Osborne.
Woo. Let's talk about, if you could, like, what are some of the knives out on the market right now that you'd like to own and why? Like, this is a chance to tell people what they should go and buy for whatever. Like, what's your favorite, like, hunting type knife?
I carry like a pocket knife everywhere. And this Osborne, if I was going to buy anything from Benchmade, it'd be an Osborne.
This one right here.
Yeah. And then Zero Tolerance. It's like the big brother of Kershaw. They're like their top of the line brand. They make some awesome knives. I really like their stuff.
I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, they make great carbon scale knives. Tons of really like just great profiles that I really like. And then as far as hunting knives, I feel like, and I'm not just trying to say this, but I feel like Benchmade is the one paying the most attention to hunting right now. Most everyone's in folders. Which makes sense. Like that's where most hobbyists go to. Everyone likes to carry a folder, but I really like the Altitude. And then I'm trying to think.
What about knives for stabbing people?
You know, I'm not great on stabbing knives.
Okay, I mean, I'm just checking.
Yeah, sure. No, good question. Not as much. You know, those Blade HQ guys, they have about everything you need to know. But I don't know if you've checked out their website. They have. They have like every knife you ever need.
Really?
So there's in Lehigh.
Gotcha.
Man, Utah, you guys got it all.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyler has sharpened a lot of my knives. I brought a bunch of knives in.
I just see Brian walking with a shoebox. Hey, Tyler.
Some of them I was curious, what did you think? Because you sharpened a couple of my SE knives, and they've got a much softer steel to them. But you really liked them.
Yeah.
To me, that's like the knife I might want to have if I'm going to be stranded in the Amazon for, a year or my lifetime.
Like an SE Jungle.
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe not the Altitude is not the best tool for that.
Yeah.
But I've learned, I've said this recently, there's a tool for every job. I have a sleeping bag at home that if the zombies come and we have a nuclear fallout, that's what I want. I mean, just practically, it's bomb-proof.
Sure.
At the same time, it's a little over-engineered for all my hunting activities because it's too bulky and too heavy and
weighs 10 pounds.
It's not that warm, really, compared to for the weight,
sure.
And then I have that Stone Glacier Chill Coot that is it's like a loaf of bread. It's like 850 filled down. It's 15-degree bag, and it weighs nothing. That is the tool for the job. But when the zombies come, it's not a very good tool because if it gets wet, you're hosed. If it's
gonna get shredded.
Yeah, I mean it's not built the same. And
sure.
So each of these things have their purpose, but for the hunting I'm doing, the Altitude is the tool for the job.
Yeah.
And I have a Taito knife. It's like a Havalon. It's just the handle, titanium handle that any, Havalon type blade goes into, a scalpel blade. I like that style of knife. The Havalon, same thing. I like that. Gerber has a couple I've used too. I like those little blades and they're great, but there's something about having a non-throwaway knife. one that just was much sturdier, heavy duty, more versatile that I can use for other things. And because this thing weighs nothing, and they say something like the altitude is the equivalent of like 10 throwaway blades in terms of its sharpness. So by the time you get rid of 10 throwaway blades, it's about the time that the altitude it's about the equivalent. I don't know if it's 10 or not, because I'm so cheap. I keep using the same blade forever on those.
On those Havillands?
Yeah.
Or Titans.
Lampers is way worse than me, man. That dude is frugal. Anthony's probably the worst. He'll break the blade and still try to keep using it, so
It's still good.
But I do like just a fixed blade.
Yeah.
And I still bring that little tiny titanium handle, the Taito, every now and then, and some throwaways, because you can really get in there with that little scalpel blade and make short work of some skinning on some soft tissue, and that blade will do a good job.
Yeah.
But this year I actually haven't used a Havilland or any kind of throwaway blade on any of my hunts. The guys I'm hunting with often have one that they use on their animal, but I did my entire elk with these two knives, and it was great. So it's kind of my preferred choice. This one I used to like chop down 1 million trees, so I could make a spot for my teepee. I used this Osborne to cut branches out of trees when I was in the tree stand. I mean, I'm like hogging out 3-inch limbs with this sucker, and it just holding an edge. So when you got to it, this last week, I had like chopped trees with it.
Yeah, I saw there was some chipping. I was like, wow, he's used this. But I'm a firm believer in using your tools. Like a lot of guys that like baby their knives, but that's another cool thing about this is you can just the wicked edge. Sorry, you can just put the edge right back on it. Just use your stuff, and then.
Well, I knew Tyler was back here, so it's like.
So you're like, hey,
I got a friggin' hatchet here.
Yeah,
I've got a machete.
A machete.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Here's my take. If Tyler didn't work here, I would own one of these things.
That's fine.
For now, I think I'm going to try to avoid. I might not buy one, but it's Wicked Edge.
Wicked Edge.
And is there anything else we should cover before we go?
I have a little teeny Arkansas stone. It's like this, but much, much smaller. And I'll just keep this in my kit. When it's in my backpack all the time, just so that if I do get like a edge that's laid down, I'll just run it like this and it'll just pick it back up.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is called an Arkansas what?
Just an Arkansas. It's just a whetstone. And that's just one I keep in my, not that one, but one just like it. And it's just a little teeny one that I'll just.
Because this ain't backpacking material.
No, it's not. No, but it's like the size of it's probably 1x2.
Gotcha.
And teeny and thin. So, you can buy Benchmade.
And then you just go across a couple times and you can kind of keep that edge going.
Yeah. You can see laid down, if you look at your edge, if you can see it's laying down, you just pick it back up and you'll get tons more life out of it. So that's kind of what you end up doing with, if I just touch up an edge with this, I don't have to go all the way through the grits. I can just start at like 600 or 800 and just pick back up that edge. Because really what's happening on like a microscopic level is the edge is just laid over. So if I just, start lifting it up, it'll pick back up and the metal will just stand back up into a nice peak again.
Very cool.
That's what you can do when you're out there too. A few companies sell little ceramic rods and stuff that you can use while you're out there.
What do you think of those little drag through sharpeners?
Don't use those.
That's all I ever used.
Yep.
Yeah, those remove a lot of it. If that's all you got, that's fine. They remove a lot of material, and the edge that it gives you is horrible. If you looked at them like side by side, like a whetstone or a wicked edge next to that one, it would look like chainsaw versus like a nice clear. So
Alrighty.
yeah, those little pull through carbides, they're fine if you've got like disposable knives, but if you have a knife you care about, I would not use a pull through carbide. So
there you have it. That's a useful. I'm gonna have to go home and throw them all away, I guess.
I'll take them.
Just have a couple.
I mean, you can do whatever you like. I wouldn't do it with a knife that you care about. That's all.
So for those who are listening, if you want to stay tuned, we're going to have Tyler just sort of walk through a little bit of sharpening. For those that are interested and want to see it, they can stay on the show or go to the YouTube video. But thanks for tuning in. For everyone else, show us how you do this thing.
All right. So I'm at like step 1. It may not be very flashy right now because this is a really big knife, and we'll see if I can.
It is big.
I can do
it. It is.
That's a person stabber.
Yeah,
it's a people stabber.
I haven't done a knife this large in a while, so we'll see how it goes.
And what makes the size harder? Like just the travel of the whetstone or the stones.
Yeah, so it can become difficult as this. Sorry, let me grab a.
Okay.
So these are my stones. This is not like a perfect way to store them, but it's what I got. So, so as the stone travels across, it's going to change slightly the bevel. Right now, I'm trying to just establish that I've got the right
angle, bevel.
Yeah, but the difficult thing and one of the shortcomings of this method of the wicked edge is that you can't always address the blade at the same bevel all the way.
Yeah, because the base doesn't move of the arms you're using.
Yeah. So for like pocket knives and stuff, it's awesome. But like a kitchen knife, it's not going to address it at the same bevel all the way down this length. If you've got a chef's knife, it's not going to work great. So I'll do like kitchen knives with my whetstones.
Okay.
But just for
makes sense because you've got this pivot point at the bottom where the stones mount, and if you've got a long blade, they just don't reach.
They're not going to reach all the way, and they're not going to stay at this right bevel. So we'll see. And then, so I'm just checking. I think I've got it close.
So you have some marker on the bevel.
Yeah, I'm actually going to remark it real quick.
And then just taking a Sharpie, marking the bevel. And then you're going to take that.
And I'll just scratch it. It's just I always start out so that if I'm...
Dude, that's a wicked edge.
Dude. That's probably like...
That hurt inside a little bit.
Oh, you didn't like my joke?
Oh, it was great, yeah.
So I'm just walking it in, checking. I'm getting pretty close.
I see. And you're just moving the base a little bit more until you've removed the material where you put the marker.
Yep. So right there,
so that's your bevel.
I'm at the same bevel as
what's there.
Yeah, like the factory bevel. Because this knife has never been sharpened, even though it's pretty old. All right, and then I'll just.
What kind of knife is that, by the way?
I think it's a buck.
Buck? Yeah, it looks.
Yeah, buck. It's pretty old, but it's pretty cool too. It's like a grandpa knife.
It is.
So I'll just do the same thing. So usually they'll be pretty close to the same like bevel on both sides.
Now you can just kind of match what you saw on the other side and then just double check it.
Yeah.
So you got little lines and measurements on the bottom of the arms that you're able to just
use.
Yeah.
But this is actually fairly different. There we go. Okay. So I've got the bevel's close, and so now I can just run, and I'm just making sure I'm taking off
what you think you're taking off.
Yep. So it's looking good.
Yep.
So that's going to be the trouble right there.
Right, when you get to the end, just because of the long blade you're dealing with.
Yeah, so what I might do on this one is I might do this separate. So I would just remove it from the vise and then
scoot it back.
Sharpen it. Yeah, sharpen this, like curl the tip by itself. So not ideal, but I do it sometimes on like Tantos and stuff. Tanto's a type of point.
Gotcha.
So yeah, then I just... So this guy pointed out when he gave me the knife that the reason he wanted me to do it is because it has a chip right here.
Okay.
So I'll be...
And you want an even... You want the bevel to be even.
Yeah.
And so that's why you use left, right, left, right, left, right?
Yeah. Sharpmaker, I believe. It's another type of... It's like another sharpening system that you do all of it on one side, then you rotate the knife and you do all of it on another. After you work through the grits, you're not going to have a burr. So if I did it all on one side, you're going to feel like a burr on this side because it's pushing metal over the side.
Right.
But the cool thing about this is that you just go back and forth and you never really
have a burr.
There is an advantage to creating a burr because then you know you're hitting everything.
Right.
That's how people that use whetstones, they know that they're
makes sense.
They're hitting the whole edge. So they're like removing material from the whole edge. So they'll create a burr and then they'll switch to the side and knock that burr off.
And then they're there.
Yeah. So my little Sharpie trick is like the alternative. If I knock that Sharpie off, then I know I'm addressing the whole edge. So yeah, then
I can tell you, some knife guy that does this a lot is rolling over in his grave with your amateur status.
Oh, for sure.
But the rest of us are like freaking awesome.
Yeah. No, there's definitely guys better than me, and that's okay. If my knife gets sharp and doesn't get damaged, I feel like it's okay.
Once you get into a stride, it makes me think you look like you're on an elliptical or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a sort of like a cross-country skier.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Gazelle? That piece of workout equipment? Yeah.
I feel like... I'm going to scoot back just a touch. Okay, so then I'll just run through this until... But I'm worried that I might have to go down and grit because I don't know if I'll get through that.
Make it more coarse.
Yeah.
Because of that chip. Mm-hmm. Or you could just run it like this for like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's not... I could do that. These stones are actually getting pretty worn out, so I'm probably going to buy some new ones here pretty soon.
I see.
Because I almost always start with 100. I don't go down that low.
How much do stones cost, and how do you know which ones to buy?
If you buy like just this kit, it comes with I think up to 600, if I remember right.
Okay.
And you just you need like low stones to like 100 to 200. I would say you need 100, 200, and then up to 600 will get you pretty sharp. Up to 1,000 is awesome. And then all these like leather strops and stuff I have are
bust those out here in a minute. I want to
optional.
My wife bought me a straight razor kit, and she was trying to shape my head with it, and it was not super sharp.
The podcast I did with Essie, they explained how the leather is really, with their knives, like what they primarily use most of the time. Just leather.
So this is a balsa wood strop. That's actually pretty worn out. This is a leather strop that has a few cuts in it, but both of them have been juiced up with like compound. So it's got little suspended, either ceramic or diamond dust in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets the leather gets like kind of impregnated with that dust and the compound, and so it just kind of polishes it instead of grinding it like the stones.
Right.
When's the last time you used diamond dust, Brian?
You know, I fart diamond dust.
Alrighty. So this is going to take just a minute. I hope that's all right.
That's cool. We can fast forward.
Okay, good. That's true. I was like, this is going to take a minute.
Oh,
yeah. We can add it.
So it's going to take some time to actually finish sharpening that knife. So we're not going to film the whole thing. What you would start out with that coarse grain, then you'd move up to a more fine grained stone, and then eventually, would you leave the stones and go to the wood or the leather?
Yeah, so I probably for this knife, because it's like a working knife, it's like a hunting knife, I'd probably just leave off at 1,000 grit, which is an awesome, like definitely
Finish.
enough. Yeah, it's going to be probably sharper than.
And you were kind of saying
been.
offline that's kind of how you do it nowadays for most of the knives, because that's all you really need to do.
Yeah. It's rare that I'll use my strops anymore just because, I mean, they're awesome, but it's just kind of cosmetic. It's just if you really want to have a flashy mirror edge, you don't need that though. Okay. So for this knife, I'm just going to go up to 1,000 grit. It's a long knife and it's going to take me a little extra time. So yeah, I'll just kind of do it offline.
What do you say to people? Let's say, like Brent asked this earlier, what is like a mistake that people kind of tend to do with their knives that makes you cringe?
Yeah, one thing I would say is don't put your knives in the dishwasher. It's hard on them. If it heats up quite a bit, it'll like pop the pins.
Including kitchen knives?
Kitchen knives, yeah.
Man, I've been screwing my knives for years, man.
It'll pop the pins in them if they're knives that have like pins through the handles. It just corrodes them quite a bit. And then ceramic cutting boards are pretty hard on knives.
I'll use wood cutting boards.
Wood or plastic.
I don't own a ceramic cutting board because I think that's just instinctive to me that would be dumb.
Avoid plastic?
No, you can use plastic.
Mostly wood.
Yeah.
But people freak out about germs in wood.
I don't.
Sometimes.
I don't know.
Cutting boards.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's becoming more popular is ceramic, but it's really hard on them. So, then just use it like a tool. I mean, if you're a hobbyist and you like collecting, that's fine, but I like using knives. So
yeah, that's where the fun is.
Yeah,
the machete.
Macheta.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Leave us a comment on the YouTube videos. Send us an email. Whatever. We really appreciate you following along, and hopefully this was useful. People learned a thing or two. I think Wicked Edge might sell a few of those here soon.
And if we missed anything, if there's any questions or follow-ups you guys want from Tyler, let us know.
Yeah, tell me how I'm wrong.
Yeah, totally. Do that because Tyler has a lot of learning if he's going to keep sharpening my knife like a pro. Right on. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you coming on. Folks, thanks for tuning in. And as always, stay gritty.